thought today we'd quickly go over the 21 precepts that Musashi Miyamoto wrote long time ago in 1645, about, I think just a couple weeks before he died. So this is a very interesting thing in the Book of Five Rings, which I'm sure most of you already have. Any serious martial artist and sword student must have the Book of Five Rings. The Dokkodo no Sho. There are several different translations of this book. This one happens to be by Alex Bennett, but there are many out there, and they all kind of interpret it slightly differently. This is a copy I'm using today. But this Dokkodo is one of the last things that the sword saint Musashi, who was undoubtedly, supposedly, I mean, we weren't there, but one of the best samurai that ever existed here. He wrote about this long time ago, and he left it to his disciple just before he died here. Okay? And this means the path of aloneness, or the way to go forth alone, or the way of walking alone. And this is something you hear people talk about in martial arts quite a bit. When they talk about, look, I don't care who's around me training or not. My best friends quit for some reason. Or as a martial art teacher, I myself have been living with this for years. I must learn to walk alone. Whether there's someone there training with us or not, we must learn to go it alone. That is a really hard thing to think about, to do, and it's a very sad way of life in some ways. Not sad meaning like, without honor, but it's a lonely way of life. And that's something that very few people out there are willing to sacrifice for, to understand. And there's no right or wrong way to go through life. You and I both, since birth, have a choice. We can do whatever we wish with our life. We have that. But to do this particular thing that these warriors of Japan, and especially Musashi, was talking about is unusual. So this is the Dokkodo, the path of aloneness. And again, he wrote about this in 1645. Has 21 precepts in it. And at this time, Musashi was giving away his possessions in preparation for his death. And he dedicated this to his favorite disciple, who was Terao Magonojo. And also the Dokkodo no Sho, the Book of Five Rings, was also dedicated to Magonojo as well. And Magonojo took these teachings by Musashi to heart and lived with them in his time. And he taught his students, etc. And then they carry it generation after generation. Remember that this expresses a very stringent way of living. It's a very stringent yet honest but aesthetic view of life. Most people would not do this nowadays. It's really for those who are fully dedicated. And I break these constantly, these 21 precepts. Now, here it is in the Book of Five Rings in the back. See the path walked alone, the Dokkodo, okay? And then he goes over as well the fine points to this. Now it says here, from the middle of the Edo period, this short document was treasured by adherents of the Niten Ichiru, which is the two-sword method school, known as the Jiseisho, or the pledge. It says here, the text is not overly difficult compared to other Musashi writings, although ambiguous in terms of the original Japanese language. So it's written here, the 21 precepts are written in this particular book, and they're also, I have it here on this piece of paper, which is taking Musashi's viewpoint and translating it to precepts that we can just say as general things that we try to follow. When Musashi wrote about it, he was, of course, talking first person. So he said, I did not do this. I did this. I thought this. I never made this mistake. I made this mistake. So he was talking about himself here. I would prefer the ones where we're talking about adherent rules that we can try to follow in our own lives. So I'm going to read you from this one and not Musashi's, but they're the same. So, the 21 precepts of Dokkodo. And what I thought might be fun is I'm going to write down between 1 and 10 what I believe I do as far as following these rules. I'll try to be honest as I can. Because it's kind of fun to see where, and you can do this at home. You can get a piece of paper and a pen, and if you want to quickly write down the precepts, and then write from a 1 to a 10 how you would judge yourself. How would you grade yourself in following Musashi's precepts here? And remember, this was several centuries ago, so we don't live like this most of the time. So you have to take this stuff with a grain of salt, and you have to really adapt it. Now, I'm not sure if you guys can see here, but the first precept is accept everything just the way it is. In other words, don't fight the world. Accept it the way it is, good and bad. That one I'd say I'm pretty good at as far as training. Do not seek pleasure for its own sake. Do not seek pleasure for its own sake. Not very good at that one. Do not, under any circumstances, depend on a partial feeling. Do not depend on a partial feeling. I'll go down the middle on that because I have some thoughts on it. Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. Yes, I understand that one. Be detached from your desire the whole life long. That's something I struggle with constantly, as we all do, because I believe some desire is good. Be detached from desire your whole life long. Well, I'll put it right down the middle there because I have practiced that quite a bit. I've sacrificed a lot to get to where I am, but I'm certainly not immune to any of these things. Do not regret what you have done. That's a 3 because I do regret things I've done. Never be jealous. Never be jealous. That's a hard one for all of us, isn't it? Especially if you're in a relationship. Never be jealous. I don't know. I'll put... I'm actually not a very jealous person. I'll put a 5 on that because I think I'm about halfway. Never let yourself be saddened by a separation. That I'm pretty good at that one. I'm going to give myself an 8 on that because I've had a lot of people in my life that have come and gone, and I always leave, or they leave me with pretty good thoughts, happiness, well wishes. I'm very good at dealing with death, accepting death. So when people have separated from me, I feel that I've practiced that one a lot. Number 9, resentment and complaint are appropriate neither to oneself or others. Resentment and complaint are appropriate neither to you or others. I guess we all complain here and there. We do resent certain things, so I'll give myself 5 on that. Do not let yourself be guided by the feeling of lust or love. So over our lives, how many times have we been guided by the passion of love, the emotion of love, or lust itself? I don't know. That's a hard one. These are so hard to possibly live up to. I'll give myself a 5 on that. In all things, have no preferences. In all things, have no preferences. I think I'm very, very astute with that one. I'm going to give myself an 8 on that because I really don't care either one way or the other how things really go. So I think the more that you set up high expectations, the more you become disappointed. So there's a line there. All of these have, I believe, some gray areas to them. I don't think any of them are black and white. Be indifferent to where you live. Be indifferent to where you live. It's an interesting one. I think that's fairly important where you live. I'm going to give myself a 4 because I don't agree with that. I know what he's talking about. He's talking about, be the warrior, be yourself, be happy, be content. It's all inside of you. It's portable. It goes with you. So whether you live in squalor or grandeur, be content. That's what he's saying. But I do believe your environment is extremely important. So I don't agree with him there. but I understand where he's coming from. I believe that if you don't have a household that's filled with joy and calmness, equanimity, I believe there's going to be huge issues. Number 13, do not pursue the taste of good food. Well, I eat too much, so I'm going to put a 3 on that one, because I like to eat, and I know I shouldn't eat a lot of the stuff I do, but hey, that one I'm definitely bad at. Do not hold on to possessions you no longer need. I'm a 9 on that sucker. I give stuff away constantly, always giving gifts away, things away, don't remember who I gave it to. So I wouldn't care less if my house burned down tomorrow. Couldn't care less about any of my possessions. Photos, all my music, original music, works of art, expensive things I own. Couldn't care less. Because everything's temporary. So that law of impermanence, that I've studied a lot. I'm not saying these things are good or bad, you guys, either. It's your life, you do what you want. Do not act following customary beliefs. Do not act following customary beliefs. I'm going to give myself an 8 on that one, because a lot of the times I go against the grain. I certainly am not the same belief system that I was brought up with, so I do not act following customary beliefs. Heck, I'm studying Japanese martial arts, so already I've gone away from American custom beliefs. And I've gone into the Far East customary beliefs, so for me, this is a strong one. Number 16, do not collect weapons or practice with weapons beyond what is useful. That's a 2. I mean, look at my dojo. I have hundreds and maybe thousands of weapons. So I collect weapons, and I practice with them every single day beyond what is useful. I understand what he's saying about that. You only need one good sword, but no, I collect weapons. I've completely failed number 16. Do not fear death. Is there anyone who honestly doesn't fear death out there? I doubt it. I don't believe anyone doesn't fear death. I believe that that's extremely hard to master or even think about. Now, I think about death constantly, daily, several times a day. So I'm familiar with the idea of death, and before I was born, what was I thinking? Nothing, right? There's that oblivion there, so after you die, probably the same thing. All evidence points to that. So I don't fear death, but I'm not crazy about the dying process. To become so old that you can't take care of yourself and to suffer, or to be a burden on your family, that is where I would be more afraid. But the dying itself, I don't know. So I'm going to give myself an 8 on that. Do not seek to possess either goods or fiefs beyond your old age. So this is talking about how many possessions do you want? How much stuff do you want with your money? Do you have to possess all kinds of goods to be really happy? Or are you just collecting more stuff that you have to give away or sell in a garage sale tomorrow? So that one, I'd say I'm about a 6 on that. Respect, number 19, respect the Buddha and the gods without counting on their help. So he's talking about being self-sufficient here, not always wishing and hoping and praying for things, getting up off your butt and doing it yourself. That's what he's saying here. You can respect your god or gods, you can believe in them, but don't rely on them to shape your life. You shape it, you control it. That's what he's saying here in number 19. I give myself an 8 on that. Be self-reliant. That's what martial arts is all about. Be self-reliant. You, number 20, you may abandon your own body, but you must preserve your honor. Think about that. Abandon your body to preserve your honor, meaning death. Again, back then, this culture, death was nothing to them because they believed in reincarnation. So once you die, you come back again and again and again and again into samsara. I don't believe in the West we believe this way hardly at all. So for me, that's hard. I do believe, I do not believe in suicide. I think it's very cowardly. So I'm going to give abandon your body to preserve your honor. Well, honor is important. Military people would be good at this one, right? You're serving your country. You're willing to give your life and serve for the higher cause, to serve your country. So that would be number 20, would be something that military people who feel that calling, that passion, they would be very strong on number 20, because it would all be about honor before your life. And number 21, never stray from the way. Well, I'm a living example of that. I have been doing this for, 42 years now. So that is a 10 for me. I have not strayed from the way at all. I've had 2 back surgeries from training back in my 20s. I was out for 5 months on one and about 3 months on the other. Other than that, I've been training constantly and consistently since age 8. 42 years, I'm 50. I have never strayed from the way. I can say that with all confidence. I have lost people. I have lost friends. I have lost lovers and loved ones. I have seen my family grow old and die as I was on my path. I have seen myself move several times to continue my training and go the path all by myself if I had to. I've had relationships where the women in my life did not want to pursue the path with me, or were dead against it and tried to pull me from the path, and they are no longer in my life because I am not going to put up with that. I need someone that's strong enough to stand by my side and never in my shadow. At the same time, I need a team partner who is willing to accept my training time. That's extremely important. I cannot be a person of service to others if I can't spend some time to work on myself first. How can you teach others if you're never a student? So this is really important. And most of you out there will agree with this, that these precepts that I'm talking about here, there's a lot of gray area. If this was 400 years ago, you would have a different thought process. If you were brought up in Japan, these would make more sense to most of us in the West who can feel some of these are a little weird and odd. That's okay. What is cool about this is just looking at it through Musashi's perspective and saying, wow, this is a real ascetic sword master. So this is what he believed. Now, you don't have to agree with everything. That's cool. But it's pretty cool just to look it over and to say, wow, can I at least practice a couple of these a little better than I have been before? Sure we can. We fail at these all the time. There's so much knowledge out there that we can follow in the Budo way that has nothing to do with physical fighting. Has nothing to do with it. It's so much philosophy that I'm hoping you and your martial art have out there wherever you train. If you don't have a training teacher or a dojo that goes over this stuff and discusses this, I'd be out of there in a heartbeat. I'd want to find a school that has some depth to it. There we have it, my friends. The Goden no Sho Book of 5 Rings. The Dokkodo, the path of aloneness. Are you willing to go it alone when others abandon the path alongside you? Are you willing to go forth alone? Are you willing to walk the way by yourself? Something to think about. Thank you guys for listening. I know these can be quite boring, some of these, but this is what I live for. Pulling this philosophy from the old masters and seeing if I can at least follow part of it. And then when I fail, I try again tomorrow to be a little bit better. Thanks for watching, everybody. Enjoy your path.